Welcome to Crime Story with Camila, where we dive deep into the most chilling and mysterious true crime cases. If you love real-life crime stories, make sure to like, subscribe, and share so you never miss an update. Your support helps us bring you the most in-depth investigations and untold stories. Paris, the city of light, known for its beauty, its history, and its vibrant culture. But on the night of February 2024, the city was shaken by an act of violence so brutal it sent shockwaves across France and beyond. A young woman, full of life and ambition, was brutally taken from this world. Her name was Philippine Noir de Carlan. Who was Philippine, and what led to her tragic and untimely death? This case is more than just a crime story. It has ignited fierce debates on immigration, justice, and security in France. Tonight, we unravel the chilling details of the murder of Philippine Noir de Carlan and the questions that remain unanswered. Before tragedy struck, Philippine was a young woman with dreams, ambition, and a bright future ahead of her. She was not just another name in the headlines. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, and an inspiration to many. Philippine Noir de Carlan was born on October 10, 2004 in Clamart, France. She was the third of 6 siblings, raised in a devout Catholic family with deep-rooted values of faith, discipline, and kindness. Her lineage traced back to Breton nobility, but her upbringing was far from privileged entitlement. Instead, she was taught the importance of humility and service. Her father, a respected physicist, worked at the French Alternative Energies and Atomic Energy Commission. Her mother, a mathematics teacher, ensured that education was a priority in their household. Growing up in a structured yet loving environment, Philippine quickly developed a keen intellect and a strong moral compass. From an early age, Philippine exhibited exceptional intelligence. She pursued a degree in economics and financial engineering at Paris Dauphine University, one of the most prestigious institutions in France. Her ambition? To carve a path in the world of finance, where she hoped to use her expertise for economic development. Known for her discipline and dedication, she was admired by professors and peers alike. Friends recall her determination and how she always offered help to classmates struggling with coursework. Philippine wasn't just academically gifted, she was a natural leader. As a dedicated member of the Scouts and Guides of France, she took on mentorship roles, guiding and inspiring younger members. She believed in the principles of community service, teamwork, and personal development. Her peers described her as someone who led by example, always willing to lend a helping hand. Faith was a cornerstone of her life. She was a regular attendee at Saint-Pierre-du-Lac Church in Montigny-le-Bretonneux, where she actively participated in spiritual and charity initiatives. Despite coming from a well-respected family, Philippine was humble and independent. Living in the 16th arrondissement of Paris, she embraced the city's vibrant atmosphere while remaining focused on her studies and personal growth. She lived a balanced life, dedicated to her academics yet still making time for friends, family, and self-improvement. Those close to her remember her as kind, intelligent, and full of energy, always striving for excellence. But behind this promising future lay an unthinkable tragedy. On a fateful September afternoon, everything changed. Philippine's life was stolen in a way no one could have imagined. September 21st, 2023, started like any other day for Philippine Noir de Carlan. A bright, ambitious 19-year-old, she followed her usual routine, attending classes, meeting friends, and preparing for another day of academic excellence. But as the sun dipped below the Parisian skyline, an unspeakable horror would unfold, forever changing the lives of her family and friends. Philippine attended her morning lectures at Paris Dauphine University, focusing on economics and financial engineering. Friends recall that she was in good spirits, actively participating in discussions, and even sharing study notes. She texted her mother around midday, discussing her upcoming plans and mentioning that she would be staying at a friend's apartment later that evening. Around 2 p.m., Philippine and a few classmates grabbed a quick coffee at a nearby cafe before heading home to Montigny-le-Bretonneux, where she lived with her family. That evening, Philippine had planned a short trip back to Paris. She was invited to spend the night at a friend's apartment, an ordinary gathering among university students. Little did anyone know, this simple visit would lead her straight into the hands of a ruthless killer. 7 p.m. Philippine leaves her family home and boards the RERC train back to Paris. 7:45 p.m. She arrives in the 16th arrondissement, an affluent neighborhood known for its quiet streets and historic architecture. 8:15 p.m. Surveillance cameras capture Philippine walking toward her friend's apartment. She is seen texting, possibly confirming her arrival. Just minutes from her destination, she vanishes from view, never making it inside the apartment. As the news of Philippine's brutal murder spread, the French authorities wasted no time launching a full-scale investigation. The crime had been committed in one of Paris's most prestigious districts, sending shockwaves through the city and beyond. Who could have carried out such a horrific act, and why? Police cordoned off the crime scene immediately, gathering surveillance footage and speaking to witnesses. The murder weapon, a bloodied knife, was found nearby. Philippine's phone was missing, suggesting either a robbery attempt or an effort to erase evidence. The sheer brutality of the attack puzzled investigators. Philippine had no known enemies, no ties to criminal activity. The murder appeared to be an unprovoked, senseless act of violence. Police retrieved security camera footage from buildings surrounding the crime scene. The footage captured a man lurking near the entrance, following Philippine before she vanished from view. Witnesses described a suspect fleeing the scene, running into a nearby alley. Within hours, the authorities had a lead. A 22-year-old Moroccan, Taha O, was identified as a prime suspect. His face matched the description given by witnesses, and police recognized him from previous criminal offenses. Taha O was a homeless Moroccan migrant who had been staying illegally in France. He had multiple prior arrests, including for assault and theft, but had never been deported. Just days before the murder, he had been arrested for carrying a weapon, yet released without charges. The suspect had fallen through the cracks of the system. A man with a documented history of violence and illegal activity, yet somehow, he was still roaming the streets of Paris. The question now was, where was he hiding? September 22nd, 2023. Less than 24 hours after the murder, police tracked Taha O to a makeshift migrant camp near Gare du Nord. He was hiding among other undocumented individuals, attempting to avoid capture. When officers approached, he tried to flee, sparking a brief foot chase before being tackled and restrained. As officers restrained him, the suspect reportedly showed no remorse, refusing to answer initial questions. But within hours, forensic evidence would link him directly to the crime. Bloodstains on his clothing matched Philippine's DNA. His fingerprints were found on the murder weapon. His phone history placed him at the crime scene at the time of the attack. The nation reacts, outrage and calls for justice. As news of the arrest spread, outrage swept across France. How had an individual with a criminal past been allowed to remain in the country? Why was he not deported after previous offenses? French politicians called for stricter immigration laws. The case ignited debates on public safety, border control, and judicial failures. Philippine's family, devastated, demanded full accountability from the authorities. During questioning, Taha O refused to speak initially. He showed no signs of remorse, no clear explanation for his actions. Then, after hours of interrogation, he finally muttered a chilling statement. The murder of Philippine Noir de Carlan did more than shock a nation. It ignited a firestorm of public outrage and political debate. The brutal nature of the crime, combined with the suspect's illegal immigration status and criminal record, made this case a symbol of deep-rooted issues in France's justice system and immigration policies. The murder of Philippine sent shockwaves across France, especially among students, women's rights groups, and political figures. Universities and feminist organizations held vigils in her honor, demanding better protections for women. The phrase "Justice pour Philippine" began trending across social media, with thousands calling for harsher punishments for violent offenders. How many more women must die before something changes? Philippine should be alive today. For many, Philippine became more than a victim. She became a tragic symbol of the growing violence against women in France. When it was revealed that Taha O had a long history of violent offenses and had previously been ordered to leave France, the public's grief quickly turned into anger. Citizens questioned, why was he still in the country? Why hadn't law enforcement acted sooner? How did the system fail to protect Philippine? This man had multiple run-ins with the law. Why wasn't he deported when he had the chance? The French public demanded answers, and their frustrations were soon echoed in the political arena. Right-wing politicians used the case to criticize France's immigration policies, demanding stricter deportation laws. How many innocent lives must be lost before our leaders take action? This tragedy could have been prevented. On the other hand, left-wing leaders cautioned against xenophobic rhetoric, urging the focus to remain on justice for Philippine rather than political scapegoating. President Emmanuel Macron released a public statement, promising reforms and a crackdown on repeat offenders who avoid deportation. The government was under immense pressure to address the public's growing fears and frustrations. Protests and civil unrest. In the weeks following the murder, thousands of protesters gathered in Paris, Lyon, and Marseille, demanding stronger protections for women, tougher penalties for violent offenders, better enforcement of deportation orders. The protests sometimes turned violent, with clashes between citizens and law enforcement. Right-wing groups organized marches against illegal immigration, while left-wing groups counter-protested, arguing against racial scapegoating. The tragedy had exposed deep divides within French society, making Philippine's case not just about justice, but about the future of national security and immigration policies. A turning point for France? New policies were proposed, including faster deportations for criminals, stronger punishments for repeat offenders, improved protections for women at risk. But many questioned, would this actually bring change, or would Philippines' case become just another statistic? The nation had been shaken, but was it enough to spark real reform? As the trial approached, all eyes remained on the courtroom, awaiting the final chapter in this tragic story. While the trial of Taha O is still ongoing, many continue to demand the harshest possible sentence for the crime. Her family, shattered by grief, has remained vocal in their fight for justice. But true justice, for many, will only come when real reforms are made to prevent this from happening again. Will Philippines' death lead to lasting change? Or will she become just another tragic name in the long list of victims? That is a question only time can answer. Remembering Philippine. Beyond the headlines and political debates, Philippine was a daughter, a friend, a student with a bright future. Her loved ones remember her kindness, intelligence, and dreams for the future, a future that was stolen. In the end, the most important thing is not how she died, but how she is remembered. Her story may have ended too soon, but her legacy, her memory will live on.
Thanks for watching. For more interesting videos, please subscribe.